Hello, a very warm welcome to Granada. Well, first tonight, the outbreak of Listeria linked to 2 companies in Greater Manchester that's left 1 person dead and may have contributed to the deaths of 2 others.
Yeah, the outbreak happened last year. The food products responsible were desserts supplied to NHS hospitals and care homes.
Our reporter Zoe Muldoon's been following the story for us and she joins us from the newsroom now. Zoe, just tell us more.
Yeah, well, health officials have been investigating linked cases of Listeria, which struck 5 people between May and December last year. Now, one of those people that died had their cause of death attributed to the bug, while the other 2 were known to be infected with it, and 2 more became really sick. It's suspected the outbreak's down to a type of dessert supplied to the NHS by a company called Cool Delight Desserts based in Ramsbottom. But those products supplied by that company were actually manufactured in Hyde by a firm called Susker Limited. As I've said, these desserts are not readily available for us to buy in the shops, but because they're supplied to hospitals and care homes where people are at their most vulnerable, they've been recalled by the Food Standards Agency as a precaution. Listeria can cause some pretty nasty symptoms, including vomiting, diarrhoea, fever and muscle aches.
And Zoe, even though this happened last year, it's only now that the food safety authorities have been able to take action.
Yeah, it's clearly been quite a long investigation involving several official bodies, including the Food Standards Agency, the NHS and the UK Health Security Agency. Now, as I've said, the products are not currently being served to people in NHS trusts because even though the levels of bacteria found in them are regarded as safe for healthy people, patients in hospitals and other healthcare settings are more at risk. The Food Standards Agency told us tonight the food business that supplied the products are undertaking a product withdrawal as a precaution. The cause of contamination is being investigated and the local authority is working with the business to ensure appropriate action is taken to protect public health. The 2 companies linked to the outbreak in the northwest, Cool Delight Desserts and Susker Limited, did not want to comment.
OK, Zoe, many thanks indeed for the update.
Well, next, and it's a huge day for survivors of terrorist attacks from our region.
Granada Reports was given exclusive access as a group of survivors met the Security Minister earlier at Westminster. The Minister, Dan Jarvis, told them of plans for a nationwide support hub and also a national day to remember lives lost in terrorist attacks.
Well, our correspondent Victoria Grimes was the only journalist in the room and sent us this report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can I extend the warmest of welcomes to you all to the Home Office?
They fought long and hard to help those affected by the horrors of terror attacks. And today, by special invitation at the Home Office, they got the news they've been waiting for, delivered in person by Security Minister Dan Jarvis. Today, he announced plans for a national day to honour victims and survivors of terror attacks.
I think collectively we think it's right that there is a focal point in the year. There is a moment where we come together as a country in a very positive way to reflect on those who we've lost to terrorism.
It's something Westminster Bridge survivor Travis Frayne has long campaigned for. The 27-year-old from Darwin broke nearly every bone in his body in the attack in 2017. For him, the announcement on the eve of the memorial service is particularly poignant.
I'm incredibly proud and privileged to be part of this effort, and I'm really, really grateful to the Minister and to the government for making this announcement, and I look forward to working with them as we go forward, putting these plans in place to ensure that we have this day in place for all victims of terrorism.
Also announced today plans for a dedicated support hub. It follows research from Dr. Kath Hill and the Be the Difference group, all survivors of the Manchester Arena attack, who fought for their voices to be heard.
It was quite an emotional meeting. Yeah. We've been campaigning and working for a long time, us as part of our Be the Difference project with the National Emergencies Trust, but also Survivors Against Terror. As a group of victims, people have been really working hard to move things forward for support for people in the future.
Abby, do you feel like you and the other young people involved in Be the Difference have been listened to now?
I feel acknowledged, and I feel like for young people who are confused of their emotions after an event like this, to finally feel acknowledged and listened to is such a big step in a healing process as well as growing up as well.
Will you be able to ensure that this new support hub has specialist facilities and trauma experts available for young people, specifically targeted at them?
Yes, absolutely. We will make sure that the design of the hub caters for the specific needs of children and younger people. Their needs will be different from adults. We will make sure that this hub provides the support that they want us to provide.
What sort of timescale are you looking at for the support hub to be up and running?
This is something that we want to progress at pace, and we want to make sure it's up and running next year.
The details will no doubt take time, but all those here say the changes can't come soon enough and are vital to make sure victims of terror are never forgotten.
Well, it was actually very moving being there at the Home Office today to see that meeting and to see Kath and Abby and Travis hear the fact that those things that they've been campaigning so hard for are going to become reality. And we're joined now, I'm delighted to say, by Kath and Abby, who have come down to London especially for this meeting today. Kath, just tell us, you've worked so hard with Be The Difference. Why is it so important to have this joined up approach for dealing with people when they've been through such an atrocity?
Oh, it's just, this is wonderful. Today feels very positive because when you've been traumatised by a terror attack, finding the right support can be tricky. There are some incredible people out there like the Peace Foundation doing amazing stuff, but actually there's stuff that you don't know where to go. When you're traumatised, you go to your GP, you go to your school, you go to the mental health services. So the idea of this is a one-stop shop, so you know where to go, that you can be helped and supported through this traumatic incident.
And thinking that today that you've been listened to, that Dan Jarvis has heard you. I mean, I remember going right back to when you were telling me that this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to have this one-stop shop. You'd identified that need.
Yeah.
How does it feel today to know that you've been heard, girls? Abby?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, Dan and his team have been working really hard to listen to our experiences and listen to our research that we found, to identify the gaps in the provision and to put things in place, which is exactly what we've been searching for years.
Yeah. Now, they say today they were going to work with the Department of Education as well. I know, Abby, you had a really difficult experience at school not long after the Manchester Arena attack. Just tell us what happened to you.
Yeah, in my experience, my school lacked the understanding of like what would affect me in terms of like bomb drills and stuff, which at the time re-traumatised me. And
So you actually had a bomb drill, didn't you, that they didn't tell you about?
Yeah, and to be put in that position was definitely not what I needed. I think schools lack education, which is something else that we're advocating for throughout this.
And do you think that these measures are going to go far enough, this support hub is going to be enough? Are you confident that the government can deliver this to the standard that you need it to be? Because it's got to be right, hasn't it?
Yeah, we hope so, and I'm really confident. They've really listened, they've taken on board our research, so I do want to say thank you to any young people in our region that filled in our research questionnaire, because it has made a significant difference. So we are confident, we have to have hope. We will be kind of keeping on track, so they've said that there will be kind of groups with people with lived experience to try and help move that forward. So we will continue to advocate and push forward, but we do feel very confident. It's cross-party kind of agreement on this, so fingers crossed. This is a really positive step in the right direction.
Kath, Abby, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. Back to you.
Victoria Grimes in Westminster, thanks so much. A really huge day.
Yeah. Well, next tonight, the mystery of the baby found wrapped in a Union Jack towel in a brook in rural Lancashire. The heartbreaking discovery of the little boy 13 years ago had a huge impact on the community in Kirkham at the time.
But now detectives believe they're a step closer to solving the case after tracing the dad through a DNA familial link. They say he's not a suspect and is helping with their inquiries.
Tonight, police are renewing calls for information as they work to identify the mum. Our reporter Anna Yosef has more.
It was a tragedy that touched the hearts of many. The body of a baby boy found in a stream in Kirkham in Lancashire in 2011. His identity and why he was abandoned has remained a mystery. But today, Lancashire police announced they were a step closer to solving the case after advances in DNA helped trace the baby's father. He's been helping police with their inquiries, but doesn't know the mother's identity.
So we are really trying to appeal to find out who Mum is. I'd appeal to any members of the public, any of her friends who might know something. Did you have concerns about somebody who was pregnant and didn't come home with the child? Were you a health professional or a social worker who had concerns about somebody you worked with but never felt comfortable or able to raise them back in 2011? With the passage of time is now the time that you can come forward. Any small piece of information could be really key to our investigation.
What was the man's reaction when he found out about his involvement in this case?
Shock, I would say, as anybody might expect, but he is thankfully working alongside our specialist officers and he is assisting us and talking to us and telling us everything he can.
This is the brook where the little boy was discovered by a dog walker more than 13 years ago. He's believed to have been a newborn. His cause of death has never been ascertained. Investigators are hoping that this new appeal will help give that little boy his identity. When he was found, the baby boy was dressed in a blue and white striped George at Asda fleece top. This Union Jack towel and a green towel with a Renaissance label were found nearby. Local residents and businesses clubbed together to pay for the infant's funeral. A baby boy without a name, but who will always be a part of this community. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Well, next, and the judge leading the public inquiry into the crimes of nurse Lucy Letby has refused calls to suspend the hearing.
Lady Justice Thirlwall had come under pressure to delay her report as Letby's legal team said there was now compelling evidence she was innocent.
Letby serving 15 whole life orders for the murders of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 7 more at the Countess of Chester Hospital. And our correspondent Mel Borham's been at the inquiry in Liverpool for us today. Mel, so Lady Justice Thirlwall has refused to back down.
That's right. In the end, she did. She had been under mounting pressure, especially this week, to pause this inquiry in light of growing doubts from some quarters over the safety of Lucy Letby's convictions. You may remember that a panel of international medical experts had held a press conference last month where they put forward alternative explanations for the deaths of those babies, citing poor medical care or natural causes rather than murder. And as a result of that, the chair had received requests from not only Lucy Letby's legal team, but also the former executives at the hospital and the MP David Davis, all requesting her to suspend these inquiries until the outcome of Letby's latest legal challenges were resolved. Now, Letby has applied to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, who look at potential miscarriages of justice in the hope that they'll look at her case and refer it back to the Court of Appeal. But in a lengthy judgment this afternoon, Lady Justice Thirlwall refused that application, concluding that this inquiry had been fair and it should continue.
As I have said before, it is not the actions of Lucy Letby that I am scrutinising. It is the actions of all those who were in the hospital and within the terms of reference, whose actions I am reviewing, what they did at the time, in the light of what they knew at the time, and in the light of what they should have known at the time.
Well, in the last hour, Lucy Letby's legal team has responded to that decision, saying it's a great shame that the inquiry has not taken on board the overwhelming evidence that Lucy Letby's convictions are unsafe and paused proceedings. Sadly, they say, despite the millions of pounds that have been spent, any report and recommendations will one day be seen as unreliable and redundant.
When can we expect the judge to publish her reports?
Well, Lady Justice Thirlwall said she's going to begin writing that report in earnest tomorrow. She said that she's keeping the date of the publication under review, but her intention is to publish it in November of this year. But she's already given quite a big hint as to what we might hear in her conclusions, not least because the hospital has conceded that they got things wrong on a massive scale.
There have been a number of concessions, including that they should have communicated better with parents and should have provided pastoral care for the consultants. But perhaps principal and most obvious amongst the concessions made by just about everyone is the acknowledgement that there was a total failure of safeguarding at every level.
Well, she used her closing remarks today to thank everybody involved in this inquiry, particularly the parents of the babies involved. In the meantime, of course, the CCRC will be looking at Lucy Letby's case. We understand her legal team are providing more of the application submissions by the end of this week. It's not possible, though, to know exactly how long it's going to take to review that application.
Mel Barham, live in Liverpool tonight. Thank you.
Some more of the day's news now, and Santander have announced they'll be closing 8 of their Northwest bank branches over the next few months. The Spanish bank is set to close 4 of their sites in Lancashire, while Manchester and Merseyside are both set to lose 2 branches each. They make up part of 95 closures across the country, putting 750 jobs at risk.
New figures show the number of people taking up smoking in the Northwest has nearly halved over the last 18 years. A university study found rates fell faster in our region than the national average. Meanwhile, the government says it's investing £70 million in local stop smoking services this year.
The Wanted's Max George has returned to rehearsals for the UK tour of War of the Worlds after undergoing heart surgery. The Manchester-born singer was due to join the musical's cast last year, but needed life-saving surgery last month for a block in his heart. Max has had to postpone all of his gigs, but he says he's now in good form.
Good to hear. Time now for a look at what's to come on the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia.
Coming up, the teenager who killed his mother, sister and brother is sentenced to 49 years. Nicholas Prosper was obsessed with violence. He murdered his family but failed to carry out his dream of a school mass shooting. The parts of England where smoking is getting more popular. New research details where numbers are going up. And the splashdown that sent ripples the world over. Sunny Williams' ancestral village in India celebrate the return of the Princess of Space. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Those images of the astronauts arriving back on Earth are incredible, aren't they?
They really are. Imagine getting stuck with your co-worker in space for 9 months. Oh.
And what is amazing as well, that they were welcomed by a pod of dolphins. I wouldn't be welcomed by a pod of dolphins if I was stuck in space for you for 9 months. Horrific. Just joking. On to sport, and it's another big night for Manchester City women as they bid for a place in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. They face Chelsea at home in the first leg, just 4 days after losing to them in the League Cup final.
We always want to win, but we knew it would be hard games. I think we was working this week to do different things and different way to hurt Chelsea, but again, not gonna be easy. But we ready and we together gonna try our best to win. And now we home, so we'll be special.
Now to a legend of motorsport who's having his story told in Manchester. Damon Hill won Formula One World Championship in 1996, following in the footsteps of his late father, Graham. The documentary Hill looks at that victory and his fierce rivalry with Michael Schumacher, while also showing a vulnerable side to the champion driver.
Being in Formula One is a very exposing experience. If you have an ounce of doubt, it's found the crack in your armour and it's straight into the central nervous system. Because you yourself might believe there might be part of that that's true.
Well, tonight that movie has its premiere at the Manchester Film Festival, where Chris Hall has been speaking with the man himself, Damon Hill.
Damon, from the podium to the Odeon. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Very good. Very good. Yes, no, it has been a bit of a journey. I mean, this is pretty exciting for me. You know, the documentary's about my career and also all the ups and downs of my life and so forth. But it's been beautifully put together by Alex Holmes, who's the director, and it's really his vision. It's not. I didn't direct it. I just was in it.
What's it been like working on it? Has it brought back all those emotions and all those rivalries, and what's it been like for you?
Well, when I saw the final product in theatre, I mean, it's extraordinary. I watched it and I just thought, oh my God, did I do all that? You know, was I there? Was that me? So it was a bit bit strange watching, and I actually, the overwhelming feeling was, I'm glad I don't have to do it again. It looks like a lot of hard work.
What do you do to replace that adrenaline rush once you went into retirement? When was the last time you felt an adrenaline rush like that?
Oh, well, I do stupid things like skiing and surfing, but I try not to do anything too ridiculous. I don't actually race anymore. I stopped racing, and then I went what I would call cold turkey from driving on the track. You're used to performing at a very high level with a lot of adrenaline, and that's a problem because you end up doing silly things that quite a lot of racing drivers have had problems after they've stopped racing and they got caught out. And so I was keen not to do that.
You had, of course, the ultimate success in winning the World Championship, but you had a lot of sadness to deal with as well that comes out in the documentary as well, and the sudden loss of your father and the loss of your former teammate Ayrton Senna as well. How did you maintain that focus that you need to get to the top of Formula One when you had so much to process?
Well, I think the film actually shows that was part of the package of being a racing driver. That it's very easy to get distracted or derailed. So there is a need to put things into their compartments, but of course you can't deny what you've been through as well. So it is a story about vulnerability as well as it is about winning.
Absolutely. And how are you at watching yourself on the big screen? Have you become accustomed to it now, or are you one of those people who'd rather be hiding away inside a driver's helmet?
Well, I mean, it's not I don't think of it as the same guy. I mean, this guy's got hair colour and everything. I'm sort of grey-haired now, so I think of him as someone different, actually. It's quite odd.
Brilliant. Well, I believe there's a race on to get the best seat, so we will let you go, because you kind of started from the back of the grid here. But enjoy it tonight.
Keep it coming.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you watching yourself on the big screen?
Oh, I can't bear it.
Yeah.
I can't bear it. Well, finally tonight, we apologise for the slight product placement in this next story, but please bear with us. Did you write that? That sounds like one of your dad jokes.
My dad jokes are very good.
Okay.
It's about a Newcastle United fan from South Cumbria who decided to celebrate his team's win in the Carabao Cup over Liverpool in a very unusual and, you might say, slightly risky way.
Yeah, John Booth from Kendal cracked open a can of Newcastle Brown ale, Newkie Brown, that he'd been keeping in his fridge for almost 30 years for that perfect moment.
Even more bizarrely, John had been given the can at a barbecue by a Liverpool supporter. Our correspondent Hannah McNulty went to meet him.
Newcastle United fans waited 70 years for this moment. The Carabao Cup, the first domestic trophy they got their hands on since the 1955 FA Cup. In Kendal,
At last,
John Booth cracked open a can of Newcastle Brown Ale that he's been waiting for 29 years to taste.
The big question, obviously, how did it taste?
It poured okay, and it has a good colour, it had head on it, but it did taste very metally. And I think that's because it was in a can more than anything else. I think anything after almost 30 years being locked in a fridge, I think it was just more can-based.
It was never really about the taste, though the 1998 expiry date could be something to do with it. It was about having the moment to do it. John's mum was from the northeast, and as a lifelong fan, there have been many downs, but also a few ups, but he never quite cracked.
It was fantastic. Obviously, it's been all my life that I've supported them, and it's never quite got over the line. Never quite. We've always been the bridesmaid and never the bride. So this was our time, and it was lovely. Yeah, it was really, really good. Yeah, it's because from where I live in Kendal to go see Newcastle, there's been some long journeys back. Trust me, losing to Burnley a couple of years ago on penalties, and driving back and shutting the motorway. So yeah, it's been. I feel it's been a long time coming.
The Liverpool fan who gave him the can in 1996, back when Kevin Keegan was in charge, hasn't yet been in touch to offer his congratulations. But John has learnt one important lesson.
I'll replace it this weekend or the next few weeks with a bottle. I've learnt my lesson and I'll put a bottle in next time.
Well, it's funny you should say that, actually, because I did bring you something. That is to replace it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will put it in the fridge, yes.
Hopefully, it won't be another 29 years before he can drink it. Hannah McNulty, ITV News, Kendal.
The year is 2044 and John finally opens his bottle of a Newcastle brown ale.
His poor face when he took a sip.
Let's have a look at the weather. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Some lovely sunshine across the region today and more to come over the next couple of days or so. With high pressure in charge, it will be dry and fine. Temperatures really picking up tomorrow and again on Friday before a slightly fresher weekend with showers moving in. Now down to the south, Iberia are expecting a storm to move in. We have the benefit of their warm air being transplanted up into the UK over the next couple of days. It's a short-lived thing, and by the weekend, slightly fresher conditions again, but temperatures over the next couple of days will be well above average for the time of year. Back to this evening, another frost to come, not quite as cold as last night when it got down to -4, but still -1, -2 in a few rural spots before dawn. A keen frost ahead, a few pockets of mist and fog, and a dry night for northwest England and the Isle of Man. On to tomorrow, the sun will be rising at 6:14, setting tomorrow evening at 6:24. It's likely tomorrow will be rather frosty where you are to start the day, but beautifully sunny. And although winds pick up a little bit through the afternoon, that will just serve to bring more warm air into our part of the world. So lots of sunshine to come, a little bit hazy at times perhaps, but temperatures could potentially reach 18 Celsius where you are tomorrow afternoon. A little bit chilly again tomorrow night, but staying dry. And we'll see similar temperatures to end the working week on Friday. Fine, lots of bright spells, some sunshine, and a maximum of around 18 Celsius on Friday afternoon. During Saturday, showers will move in. Not a bad day, 15 or 16 Celsius. Noticeably fresher though on Sunday, with slightly more cloud to come. Bye-bye for now.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying that other brown ales are available, and beers and IPAs and whatever beverage it is, that is your tipple and your fancy. What's the oldest thing in your cupboard?
There's a bag of lentils that's been on every house move since
Delicious.
I got married.
Delicious. Since you got married.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.